Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. We've had a pretty good run here for the last few months. We've had some amazing guests. We had CBG, we had Kevin, film composer, and tonight we have a special guest. But you know that, which is why you're here. But I just wanted to say before we get going, if you haven't already, hop on over to Facebook, Yamaha Canada Solutions. That's where I post goofy ads telling you what's coming up. And we post the links for tonight. I'm sure many of you are already on there, but that's where all the info is. Tell your friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. And we're taking it back with that ad. Anyway, tonight I am drinking out of my Cleveland, Ohio cup. And I got it when I was in Cleveland. When I was visiting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the reason I'm drinking out of it tonight is because our guest, Mr. Devon Lougheed, is very rock and roll. And you met him it was maybe about a year ago now. We did a little VST Connect session on here. And we did some sessions live in person when we were still able to see people. Man, this pandemic's been going on for a long time. But thank goodness for all this amazing technology that lets us still hang in this capacity. So anyway, Devon, he's been with us a few times. He's become a good friend, and he continues to inspire me every single day with what he's doing. I know you'll be inspired tonight because we got some cool stuff to check out in this session. Him and his partner, Gina Kennedy, have a band called Alter by Mom, and they've been up to all kinds of crazy hijinks and doing amazing things. So without further ado, let's check in with Devon, friend of the show. Look at that guitar.
Oh,
That's a nice...
hey there. I didn't see you come in.
That's a nice looking guitar.
I was just hanging with my Rev Star.
The Dev Star, as it were.
The Dev Star.
Yeah. You put... that's not the... Is that the one you put the pickups in?
Yeah, this one is. This is not the point, but this has become the best guitar. I love it.
It's pretty great.
The P90s one is pretty awesome too. I'm a Rev Star fan.
For any of you that are guitar players that don't know about the Yamaha Rev Star guitars, they were designed in cooperation with the Yamaha motorcycle folks. So they're pretty cool. They look pretty cool on stage, and they play pretty cool. And I think you get asked a little bit about the tailpiece. Is this?
Oh yeah. They got especially the P90s one has a really cool tailpiece. That's kind of legends now.
And there's a little inside joke here because we asked Devon and Gina to do a little video for a corporate event that Yamaha had, and they had a gag about the tailpiece. So that's what we're talking about. Anyway, maybe one day we will show you that, but that won't be tonight. Devon, how are you, man? Like this pandemic that never ends. Like, what's going on? What are you doing?
You know, it's wild. I spent a lot of last year working on an Alter My Mom project.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're back. Yeah, it's
Maybe
all
I'm
good.
back. Okay, sweet. Yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, I've been staying busy, man. I've been doing a lot of remote sessions, which is wild. I never thought they would be as prevalent or as kind of workable. You know, if you asked me 2 years ago to do a songwriting session over Zoom, or even just to collaborate with artists, figure out stuff, I would have thought, no, that's really something it's just better to be in the room. You got to be in the room. But you take the room away, and we start relying on the technology, and it's pretty cool. So,
I've been doing some sessions myself, but anyway, the last time we saw you, we were talking about VST Connect, and you used that for a while, but you found a solution that's working better for you in your workflow. Can you tell us how you're doing that? Because it sounded super awesome to me. So
it's kind of tricky and it's a little bit creepy, but I think just in modern Black Mirror kind of ways.
Nice.
But I figured it out with an artist from Edmonton that I'm making a record with right now. It goes by the name of O Stella. It's like a zero Stella. definitely
Okay.
worth checking out. We're making a very cool record. But basically, what we do is Liz, the artist, she has a copy of Cubase Elements, so like a lighter version of Cubase, and we do a screen share, and I control her computer, and then I run the session from the Cubase Elements on her side. So it's kind of like she's recording herself, but she gets to just focus on the performance. She doesn't have to, stop, start, record, learn recording software, all of that. And it's pretty cool. At the end, I just send myself the files from her computer and then give her control back.
Okay, so how are you controlling her? Like, so Cubase Elements is installed on her system.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you
right.
have Cubase booted at all, or she just has Cubase in
She just has
Edmonton running?
Cubase, and then I'm using Zoom to control her Cubase, and then in her Cubase we use the Listen to the Audio Movers plugin to send myself the DAW audio.
So you're sitting at home, you're
Yeah,
controlling her software through Zoom, and you're hearing the audio back through your
yeah,
your system.
yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah. The only funny part is because there is a bit of lag. I hear everything all together, but the playhead, like what I'm watching, I get the audio just a second later sometimes, and so if I'm trying to do precise audio edits, it's a little bit like it's like the cursor moves a little slower too, so it's like being quite intoxicated sometimes
Right.
trying to run a session, and it's like you're just gotta drag, just gotta find the start of this chorus, man. Is it here? Is it here? Is it there?
That's funny.
It's been working, and like Liz and I figured it out. She was gracious enough to test a bunch of things with me, but I'm now doing that with an artist in Vancouver, even an artist in Toronto, because it's like you might as well
Yeah.
be here. But it's awesome, man. Just the internet has made things possible.
That's pretty incredible. I'm blown away by this. So when you're doing, so you said you're doing mix sessions over the internet as well. So is that just you having Cubase up and then just zooming, just wiring your
Yeah.
Cubase audio through Zoom, and then they just listen on Zoom on their end?
It's I do a screen share so they can see. That's
Okay.
like kind of helps some stuff, and then
Okay.
I use the audio movers on my side to send them the high quality audio, which I think
Wow.
they want. I think they open in a browser, but it just gets like a nicer. I didn't find elegant ways of getting it through Zoom. It seems really set up. I feel like for mono speaking audio with noise suppression, and it's like we want stereo and like
Right.
don't suppress any of my noise. I made that. That's there on purpose.
Right. That's hilarious. So Audio Movers, it's a plugin. Like, is it? How much does it cost? Like, what does it
I
cost you?
think it's like $100 a year subscription. They do have a
Oh,
monthly option,
okay.
maybe $7 to $10, something like that.
And the Zoom version you're using, is it like, does it have to be to do the screen control? Does it have to be like a paid version, or does the free
No,
version work?
no, I just use the free version. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, it's wild.
Amazing. Totally
It's like,
amazing.
I know we're using Skype for this, which was cool because I feel like how did Skype not benefit from all this? How is Zoom the thing that everyone just used for like video chat? Well, I know it's this new
Well,
thing.
I might have an idea, because during the day, and for those of you out there that have corporate jobs, you probably spend a little bit of time in Microsoft Teams, and Skype is now owned by Microsoft, and so I think they were
Oh,
doing the Teams. They were trying to get the Teams thing going,
right.
which has obviously benefited them in the business world. But yeah,
God.
Skype could use an update for sure. Yeah. Maybe we'll have to look at some of these other ways of doing stuff for Steinberg Sessions, because that sounds really cool. Wow, so you're busy. So like this hasn't slowed you down at all. Like, you're working, you're doing
Man,
stuff.
I think I might be busier, and I have no idea how. I mean, something like whatever. It's just I think artists want to make stuff right now, and I like helping artists make stuff and getting stuff out of their head and into the real world. And I don't do well with uh, having time off, really. So it's been really good. I've been lucky to be able to keep working, from home, and Gina and I just make music in our two opposite ends of the house studios, and it's not so bad.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have evidence that Devon and Gina don't like to take time off, because one thing that we have to talk about is what you guys did last year. Like, the impossible task. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Altered by Mom is a band. Last year, they released 52 songs.
That's right.
52. One a week? Is
A new
that right,
song
Devon?
every week. That's right. Yep. I think it was
So you
Tuesdays.
guys,
Every Tuesday you got a new Altered by Mom song.
so you guys there didn't take a break for the holidays or like a spring break. There was like you guys didn't need any time off. Like,
I think we were some of the only people, us and pharmaceutical companies, really benefited from the pandemic, because we planned, like January hit, stuff was being released, February stuff was coming out, and our plan was just kind of to see if we could do it. And the pandemic may have made it just a little easier. It might have given us a little more time, but we'll still take the credit for putting it out. I don't know. It was really fun.
oh, no doubt. So when you started, like, was there any doubt you would make it, or was this just like a thing like, I'm doing this, I don't care what it takes, we're gonna get to the end of the 52?
I mean, I think the party line is that we never had any doubt. We knew it was going to happen.
Okay.
I think internally, like, I know Gina's an amazing songwriter. I know I've written a lot of songs, have a lot of ideas, and I think we were attracted to the notion that, like, once people know we're putting out 52 songs, we can do a lot of stuff. It doesn't have to be, you're like, maybe some of the songs won't be that good, or they can be really short, or they can be really weird. And like, there are some that are really weird. There's one that's really short, but I gotta say, I mean, I'm completely biased, but I'm really proud of everything that came out, and it was quite fun. But looking at it, I mean, we thought, okay, if we do 6 months and it is horrible, if we do 3 months and it's horrible, whatever. We can stop. No one will care. But we were satisfied to get through it all, to say the least.
So I have so many questions. So, like, were all 52 originals, or did you do any covers in there,
No
or was it
covers. It's 52 original songs. One of them, we're gonna gather them up and release them this year in a remastered sort of thing. We're gonna call it 52 songs.
Okay.
But there's going to be a new song, so they're going to be 53, because we're
nice?
just too cheeky. But I just felt, of the 52, one of them was a parody. It was a Thanksgiving parody of a song we had done earlier.
Okay.
Mostly because it happened so fast. We were just making dinner. It just like spilled out of us. Like, that's so silly. But I would hate for anybody to say, well, that's more like 51 and a half songs. So we have that. It's like a baker's dozen, that 53rd song.
Got it. So we're like, how many of these songs were written ahead of time, or like, I'm assuming that you were writing as you went. I'm assuming you didn't have just like 52 songs waiting to go.
No. Most of them, like the 90% of them, were written. I mean, all of them were created during that year, except for the first, I think, like 6 or 7 were the year before, because we tried to get stuff up 8 weeks before, so it would keep with the schedule, all that. But everything else was created. Like, we didn't have any songs that were done that we just used for this. We had old songs that we redid or touched up, but the bulk of the songs were brand new, that were written either by Gina or by me or by both of us together or by us with a co-writer, which was fun. We got to do a bunch of different experiences, and each week it was kind of like, well, which one is almost ready, and what fits the overall, we've done 2 kind of rock songs in a row. Maybe we should do something that's like a little out there. We've done 2 songs that are out there. Maybe we should do something that's a little more accessible, and in case everybody's checking in on these each week.
Very cool. So you mentioned co-writes. I know you had some cool collaborations on this. Can you talk a little bit about the co-writing collaborations? And I don't even know if, I'm talking about Nigel in particular, but Did
Yeah.
he write? Did he write with you guys, or
Yeah,
did you?
yeah, we
Okay.
we wrote together on a song. So this is one of the people we were lucky enough to write with was Nigel Pulsford, who was the guitar player in the band Bush X in Canada, and he was in the band when they were good, and like that band to me, they were so they were so formative. They were just one of my favorite bands in all those years, and so to actually have that opportunity was wild. And our first like the first time we talked face to face was so funny because like he and I had been emailing a little bit. He like investigated us, and I invested like I'm like, is this really? I don't know if this is really him. Like we'll see. And so it took that first. It's like we both popped up on the screen. Like okay, we're here. It's you. And he's like, I see you guys from your website. Okay. And
Cool.
then yeah, we he worked on two songs with us. One that I had come up with the seeds, and one that Gina had come up with the seeds. So it was kind of fun. And on one tune, it's awesome. Like Gina rips this cool guitar solo, and we're in the studio on our side, and she's recording it. And she's just like, "I'm working on a song with you, who plays a lot of guitar, and Nigel Pulsford, and I'm doing the solo. This is a good day." So,
Well, Gina shouldn't sell herself short. She's pretty awesome in her own right. But that's
definitely,
funny,
yep.
man. That's
But
really funny.
yeah,
So that's very cool. And you worked with Tara Lightfoot, Lowest of
yeah,
the Low, like.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's hilariously we had planned to do a lot more co-writing. So we're like, oh, it'll be easy. We'll just do a co-write if we need something, if we're out of ideas. And then pandemic hit, and I'm kind of curmudgeonly with Zoom chats and video chats and stuff. So it took me 6 to 10 months to come around to like, okay, this is how we collaborate. Actually, probably working with Nigel on stuff helped me with that because we had no choice. He's in England, and it worked out fairly well, and so kind of opened my eyes to it.
Very, very cool. So you talked about how you do a couple that were kind of rock, and then you do change it up and do something different. Was there any sort of method to the madness of like, was this an exercise in? I mean, it's a bit of an Iron Man competition anyway,
Yeah.
but I mean, was there any sort of going into it? Was there kind of a plan to sort of evolve your sound in a direction, or basically just try everything, or was there any kind of plan in terms of the sound of the band, or?
I think we were definitely looking forward to branching out and trying different things and getting away from a singles culture, which it's fun. We sort of called it like it's an artistic protest against singles culture. And if you ask if it was effective, basically the weekly schedule means playlists aren't interested in it. Like it's just really cool. We still
Right.
managed to get a couple like on some of the maybe stronger songs, but it really like it was a protest that went maybe unheard. But we did all that to say we love the idea that one song wouldn't have to define that album cycle or that it's just like it's that week. It's just really like that week. If you don't like listening through the collection now, if folks stumble upon a song, they're like, oh, I don't like this one, skip it. The next one sounds different. But if there's stuff that you like, I think there are elements that tie it all together.
How freeing, man.
It was
Like,
really fun, man.
yeah, like that's
It's
got to be like, especially you play the industry game a bit, and there's always this constant pressure to find the sound and stay in the sound, and how
yeah,
freeing to just release so much
yeah,
music that you couldn't possibly stay in a sound,
yeah.
so
That's
you
it.
can just do all kinds of
I mean,
whatever.
52 songs of the same genre is pretty. That would be difficult. Like what we did, was just like let's play with everything. Everything is a possibility. There's a
It's
kid
amazing.
song in there. There's a.
Oh,
It's
I didn't
it's
hear that one, man. I
it's
gotta hear that one.
it's funny that one. It was only 30 seconds long. It's the shortest one by far. But it's thick. It's dense. It's maybe the best thing I've ever arranged. I listened to it. I'm like, I don't even know how I did that. But
That's
but digital
amazing.
platforms won't take things that are less than a minute uh,
Okay.
of an average of a release. But since it was a single, it's like 30 seconds is less than a minute. So on the digital versions, it's just doubled. It just plays twice in a row.
That's hilarious. So, and who would know, right? Like, who would even
Yeah,
know that
well,
there's a third?
it just seems like a quirky thing. I think the fun thing about Altered by Mom, I think Gina and I aren't afraid to play, to have a little fun and to be a little cheeky, in sort of like a non-threatening way, where it's like, what's a fun little gag that they're doing?
Fantastic, man. So how did you release these? Like, 'cause it was just using one of these distribution services, and it just went to all the platforms, or did you do some video, or like how did you were they all was the release always in the same place?
The release was always in the same place. Some of the things like that we use DistroKid, and the things like the making cover artwork, the digital distribution, and all that had a system behind it, because the songs were sort of like we were working ahead most of the year. There were a couple times where it was like, well, tonight we have to work on the song. Like, that's just, we've got to get it. It's got to be done soon. But generally, we were far enough ahead in our release schedule, and I think that was because it's like, okay, but it's got to be at this point with DistroKid, and here's the system, and then it will come out. And yeah, it managed to work. There's only one thing that I released early, like I missed a box and then had to take it down, and it's a real shame, real shame.
Yeah. Oh well, I think you're forgiven. I think it's okay. So what came out of this? Are you guys you must be in a new place, like having some new opportunities, and did you find, was there a momentum as you went along, or I mean, I know if I released 52 songs in a year, the momentum would be this way, but but I'm just wondering, like, what's happened as a result of all this stuff.
Yeah, it did start to pick up steam. A couple of the songs have gotten placed in TV shows. Two of the songs are in Kim's Convenience,
Cool.
mixed very, very quietly, but they're there.
It's okay as long as the check shows up, man.
Well,
It's all
that's
good.
exactly it. There's that, and then it's been a useful conversation starter in terms of publishing things, where it's sort of like, here's a band that has placed some stuff and then has a big back catalog, and yeah, so there are a couple of those conversations happening. A lot of stuff is sort of like, let's talk after the pandemic,
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is on hold, but yeah, it's been really fun. We also learned the power of having, a quote unquote influencer getting into a song and just telling people about it. And there's just, whenever that would happen, whenever somebody would pick up on one of the songs, it was impressive, because I'd like to ignore all that stuff, right? I just want to make music,
Right.
but it's all part of the game these days, and I could see it's like, if we can get somebody who has an audience to talk about this stuff, then more ears end up on the music. So it's a worthy game.
Very, very awesome. How fantastic. So, what's next for you guys? What are you going to do now? Like, I know you guys both work with, other people like Sky Wallace, who's a friend of Yamaha, and Hey Ocean, and Mono Whales. And, like, are you guys so sick of Altered by Mom songs that now you're just going to go work with everybody else? Or are you guys, do you have plans for this year?
Yeah, I know Gina's working on her own songs, may become a record, may become, who knows. And we've got some new things. I dug through, when we were doing the 52 songs, we just like kept everything that had a scrap of potential, the tiniest little bit, we kept, because we might need it. We were like, I might run out of ideas, we got to keep it going. And I dug through it the other night. I just listened to all the scraps. Some were full song arrangements with no vocals. Some are a little vocal melody that Gina's singing into her phone memo that she liked. But I listened through them all, and there's over an hour and a half of stuff. So if even half of it is worth pursuing, like, we've got another thing. I could see we're gonna wait 10 years, and then we'll do another 52 songs. But we need.
Well, Either that, Devin, or we're getting to the midpoint of the year. You could do a 26 for the last half of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Maybe.
just to tag it, just as things open up, fingers crossed, just to really complicate. Yeah, I can't come
Uh,
out right now. I've got to finish this hip hop song that we're
uh,
doing for some reason.
Sometimes I wonder if when all this crazy pandemic stuff is over, if all the music will stop because everyone will just want to be out and no one will want to be in front of a computer anymore,
Yeah,
which is how we seem to all spend our time. But I
yeah.
suspect folks like you will be playing live when we can do that again because
I'm looking forward to seeing every band, every musical act in the world be
yeah,
a little bit unrehearsed for the first month. You know? Just,
yeah, for sure. Well, it won't matter because we all miss live music
oh,
so
everyone's
much
gonna
that.
go nuts. It's gonna be awesome.
Those will be fun days when we can go to a show again. Anyway, so you brought a tune. We have a
Yeah,
tune. Should we go over and have a listen to it?
yeah. Let's check it out.
All right. So we're going to talk about Devon's process here, and again, mind blowing. These things are so illuminating for me every time we have these talented folks on here. I learned so much just doing this, and discovered a whole bunch of new plugins that you'll hear me talking about for the next long time. But anyway, why don't we have a listen to the tune? Devin, you can mute, and then we'll
Oh,
come
sure.
back on the other side. But why don't we have a listen to the tune? The vocal is dry because we're going to talk about that stuff in a sec. But sorry, you can unmute. Do you want to set up the tune at all, Devin?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So this is a song from towards the end of our 52 songs called "No One Knows," and it's Gina sings lead on it. It sounds so good. I really like it, and I thought we should probably listen to one of Gina's dry vocals rather than one of mine. So I cruelly volunteered her for that, but yeah, this one just like turned out really nicely, and I think we were talking about it the other day, and it's one that like it really this one towards the end, this one felt at the time like we're going through the motion, we're doing this, we're getting it out, and like listening back, it turned out so well, and it's one of my faves, so I thought we should have a listen to it.
It's a beautiful song. Okay, here we go. And just so you guys know, when we play it here, the instrumental track has been bounced down to just a stereo track because we're going to focus on the vocals. So there's not a whole lot of tracks to look at. But if you have questions, maybe throw them into the thing, and we'll take a look at that. So here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing
Oh man, nice work, you two. What
Thank
a
you.
song. That's a beautiful song. Okay, so in the session, I'm gonna go to the screen for a sec here. In the session, it's all bounced, all your processing. But for folks that are interested in how you sort of get the Gina's vocal in here, let's talk about your recording process a little bit, and then some of the things that you do in the mix, and then we're going to get into all this other stuff which I was pulling up, which is essentially all the effects and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
so starting with the recording chain, what are you guys using?
Yeah, so what was interesting, kind of as a shortly before the 52 songs, he had got me to try out one of these URT units that are here. And I was pretty impressed with the sound. Like I was surprised and delighted. It sounded really nice. And what became clear during the 52 songs was that I needed things to be very easily repeatable, easily recreatable. If, just like working on 8 different things at one time, it was this, if it was this. So say I needed to punch, I'm like, we changed a line on this song. I need to re-sing it. Gina needs to re-sing it, but I don't want to re-sing the whole chorus. I don't want to process all of that. So before starting to use the Steinberg unit, I was using a different audio interface with an external preamp, and it sounded good. I couldn't use that interface as preamps. There were no life to them. So I was using a mic preamp that would go into that interface. With the Steinberg interface, I would just plug my mic right in, push the little Neve transformer button on, because it lights up and you feel very special. And I would say that it was like probably 70% of the vocals were tracked through that, and the other 30% would be just like a 58 in the room. If it's like I need a quick background, I'm right here. So usually I love to create a big wild input chain, love to mess with gear and stuff like that, but I just didn't have time to be taking notes and trying to recreate. And I just found with one mic and this interface, we were able to get through everything.
So the mic you were using, just for everybody.
Yeah, it's funny you should ask. It's an advanced audio C12.
Ta-da! We set that one up for you guys.
Yeah, it's right back there. I didn't.
Look, there it is.
Well, with what I am going to shout out is this Hercules mic stand that when I was in high school, I think I paid $210 for it, and I was furious. That's a lot. It's like, that's so much money. I'm so mad. But my father, who's also a musician, wisely was like, get one mic stand that will last you your whole life. And this mic stand has outlasted hundreds of $25 mic stands.
I wish that I knew you and got that advice from you about 15 or 20 years ago, Devon, because I'm the one who thought I needed to have like 32 mic stands, and of course bought some cheapies. And I think there was a period of time where I was one a week was breaking. And,
it's when you start sabotaging parts from one to another. But
yeah,
I will say get the best thing and get it once is dangerous for a potential gear addict like myself. But it's gotta be reasonable too.
It's 100%. So talk about this mic a little bit, because it's Advanced Audio Microphones, for those of you that don't know, is a company in Vancouver. They're a Canadian company. And this guy repaired mics, all the classic mics, for years, and then he started doing his own designs based on all the classics, and then hand assembling them himself using parts from overseas. And I have one, not this one. I have a FET 47, which is incredible for the amount of money it cost. And this is based on a C12. What's the actual model? It's a CM12, I think.
CM12 SE, I think.
And it's based on a C12, AKG C12. And I'm assuming you just love this thing.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds awesome. It was one of those uh, gear acquisitions where I'm like, this one really makes a difference. I can really hear the difference. And like, I don't use it on everything because sometimes it's too like it easily makes things gigantic. And if everything I've recorded is gigantic, then I have a problem when it comes to mixing.
Right.
But this it's pretty nice. It's a pretty neat, like I've got it set up there because I just like throw it on an acoustic, or I throw it on bongos, or I throw it on whatever's around. It's a really nice all-purposer for that. Also, it's one of 4 microphones that I have that is actually worth recording, so that helps.
Anyway, for those of you that haven't checked out Advanced Audio Microphones, check it out because he's got a model of all the classics, and some of them are less expensive and
Yeah.
some more expensive stuff. And, these are being used on legit records all over the world in big studios, and they're pretty amazing. So happy to shine a little light on these because I think they're pretty awesome. So,
Yeah.
so Devon, so you're CM12 into the UR RT4.
Yeah.
And you guys have a couple of them, right? Like,
Yeah,
Gina has one, and
we've
have
got a collection. We're an RT household here.
nice. All you guys out there, if you haven't checked these things out by now, you're gonna get tired of us talking about them.
Man,
Because
okay, so here's the crazy thing.
Okay.
We didn't even plan this, but thinking about the 52 songs, this thing saved us because by the end, like I'm on a 2012 Cheese Grater Mac Pro Silver. It was upgraded then, it's still doing it, but it's starting to tick along. With this interface, if you have Cubase, try this interface because you can do direct monitoring with effects off of the unit, which meant that at the end, when my computer could barely play the session, we could record vocals, we could record guitars, no problem, with 0 latency, which is amazing. Put a little reverb on there, doesn't use any computer power, so that was sweet, and I'm not just shilling, it actually really helped out, because towards the end of big, complicated mix sessions, sometimes for me before this, it could get hard to just, let's add a bass, or let's add a pad to this. It's like, I don't know if we can, man, my buffer is at max, we gotta do this, so.
And one more story that says, don't fret over the equipment you have, just make music with what you got.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
100%. Anyway, yeah, these interfaces are crazy good. So yeah, I hope everyone will check them out. So, and you're talking about using like, the direct monitoring stuff, but you were telling me that you recorded, like you used a compressor, like the built-in Cubase compressor on this vocal as well? Like that was the only bit of processing on the way in?
Yep, just a little bit. Well, low cut from the from the interface, and yeah, just a little tiny kiss from the from the compressor there, so nothing peaked out like crazy. And it's clean. It sounds nice. It's we've got a treated room, so that helps. Sometimes recording in smaller rooms can get complicated if you have a mic that's so sensitive, because it really sounds like that room, so you want to really like that room.
Right.
But just
Okay.
a session, and it sounded like a vocal booth. It sounded like a studio room. I was happy.
Amazing. Okay, so if we go back into here, so these vocals are bounced down as they are, but so you talked about so what did you do once you had Gina's voice in the computer? So what kinds of plugins are you using? What's your process for sweetening the vocal post recording?
Sure. So when I get a vocal all comped and edited together, the first thing I'll do, although sometimes I'll do some of this stuff before editing, but usually not. Depends how wrongly the sound was on the way in, how wrong it sounded. But first I do sort of technical stuff, which is not very shocking. It's kind of like I'll take a look at EQ, see if there's anything kind of excessive lows, kind of excessive highs, resonant frequencies, anything that's nasty, just get that out of there. And then I usually compress it a little bit, which is very controversial. It's probably pretty standard. And depending on, because you asked me before what compressors I use, For vocals, I tend to either use LA2A modeling plugin, an 1176 modeling plugin, or both in series or in parallel. Which all this stuff, if you haven't heard of it, it is a pretty basic approach to it. But it's just like I want to get a vocal with no bad sounds in it, as little bad sounds as possible, and a nice even thing with the compressor. At that point, you can kind of pick if you want it to be. Do I want the vocal to be like smashed up front, like a aggressive pop mix, aggressive rock thing, or kind of more dynamic, lots more room to flow. So there's not really. I don't really have like a preset or something where I'm like, here's the vocal, it's this. Everything loads at a nice starting place, like a gentle thing that'll increase till it's too much and then back off. But I kind of go case by case, and I think it's just practice how I decide stuff or how I feel like. Maybe it's arbitrary. Who knows?
So which LA2 plug do you use? Do you have one?
Yeah, I use the Native Instruments 2A, if you can believe it. Although I just saw that the slate, because I haven't updated my slate in a while, I guess. Now they have one too, so.
Yeah, that's this one right here. I pulled these up just so for those of you that may not know what the LA2A looks like. It's a pretty classic compressor, and this is the Waves Chris Lord-Alge one. This is one of the Universal Audio ones that's available, and then the Slate. And you can see that they all kind of have the same look, and they're pretty straightforward. Just how much compression you want and how loud do you want it, and a switch for limiting or compression. It's just a slightly different sound. So, so when do you choose to use the LA2, Devon?
I start with the LA2 when I'm going for something that is not aggressive or more natural, or when there are longer passages, more legato passages. And I'll use the 76 for the opposite, when I want it to be pretty aggressive. If it's a very staccato-y, if there's lots of things that are hard-hitting. But sometimes it depends. Like sometimes it'll be a long, flowy vocal, and I just want to duck down some of the peaks, and I'll use the 76 for that. So
again, here's what the 76 looks like, and it's based on the 1176, which is another classic old compressor. Comes in a couple flavors, the black face one or the blue one, and here's the slate black and the slate blue, and on the Wave CLA one, you can actually switch between the two. Which one do you use, Devon?
I use the slate one, and sometimes the Native Instruments, and also the vintage compressor, the Steinberg, which is, it's not totally an 1176 gank, but I see. It was, and then he changed the artwork.
Right. There might have been a little...
a little oops.
A little oops there, yeah. But anyway, you can't go wrong with either of these compressors on almost any vocal, and they work kind of on anything, I would say anyway. So sometimes you use them together. When would be a case that you would use them together?
I guess if I have a really dynamic vocal, I mean, when I'm using them both together, I'm using them lightly. When I'm using them by themselves, I generally, especially the 76, I'm using pretty heavy-handed. So when I'm using both, it's usually because using one heavily hasn't worked. It might be a really long legato passage, but that I've used the 2A on, but there's still peaks jumping out, and so I'll grab those before or after with the 76. It's usually, I'm sure there's a right way to do it, but I just do a lot of shimmying until it's sounding how I want.
So define light versus heavy use. Like how many decibels of compression would we typically see on one of your vocal channels?
I guess light would be 1 to 3, and heavy would be like 7 to 10.
Okay, that's a lot.
It also goes by feel. Like when I say light, I mean if I played a non-musician the isolated vocal, they'd be like, that's nice. They might not be able to hear it. And when I say heavy, I mean if I played it to a non-musician, they'd be like, well, it sounds weird. Something sounds weird, or it sounds shouty, or it sounds loud, or it sounds aggressive. You know, if you can really hear it, because I mean, we'll be able to hear light compression if we're used to it. But I think, yeah, a light one is like you don't really hear it in the mix.
Okay.
You're not aware of it being there. Hopefully.
Do you do much listening sort of with a vocal track soloed, or are you making all these decisions with it in the mix with the instruments going?
It's a little back and forth, and I wish that I could be. I love when folks just say like, well, I only work on stuff full mix because you got to know you got to do that. I just like I get distracted too easily. I want to hear how it sits in the full mix, but
Right.
sometimes if I'm trying to find a weird resonant frequency or try and hear how it sits kind of with itself, gotta listen solo. But the end goal is for it to sound good in the mix, so that's where I always end up.
Right. Cool. Okay. So as we said, this vocal is processed. So now with EQ and compression. So now this is kind of your template that we're looking at here, correct?
Yeah. So what I've done here, it's the way we set it up. It ends up looking a bit overwhelming, but the basic idea is that the only effects that I have preloaded in a mix template are vocal effects, because I find with other instruments it's so specific to the song that I end up just creating something right there. But with vocals, I found I was creating one of 8 things each time. So I'm like, let me just have these 8 things
Right.
as a start. And so that's what you've got here. So all of the sends from this process vocal, I have set up but not activated. So then when it comes to like adding the space to the cool vocal, I've got kind of a palette ready to go. I can try stuff, and then I'm tweaking effects that are already in place rather than creating from the ground up. So it's really just about quick workflow, I think.
Okay, and one other thing that we should highlight here is Devon did some extra work for us, which is super appreciated and cool. His template kind of goes to here.
Yeah, the first
Half of these effects. So what he did was he basically gave us his template with all his bougie plugins. And then he kind of did a similar setup, but using all built-in Steinberg plugins. So we'll do a little A/B-ing in a bit and kind of check that out.
I think the idea is that it's not like you must have this specific reverb plugin, although I've got some nice ones. But it's more the idea of like, this is a small room it's doing that. And like Cubase plugins can totally do that.
Okay. One other thing before we get to that, and I'm super excited that we'll get to the bubble. There's the vocal bubble, which is coming shortly, which is mind-blowing and changed my life. I know I say that every time, but that's why I invite all my friends, because they changed my life, and it's good. But before we get to that, I just want to highlight this plugin that Devon put me onto that he uses on vocals. I had heard of this, but I had never even experimented with it. And wow, is this thing ever cool, man? Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Man. I mean, it's one of my favorite plugins. I use it for so many things. So it's a saturation plugin, but it also does a lot. You can use it for EQing and things, and it just adds a lot of spark. It adds a lot of character. And it can add too much character if you're not careful, but I like that. So.
Okay, so I'm just going to spin through the presets, because even doing that is like unbelievable. So I'll turn it on and off, and you can hear Gina's vocal with it just the way it is, and then I'll spin through these. So let's have a listen here. So here it is off.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving. I pretend that I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing away.
I love this one because it's so subtle, but it just makes the vocal just like stick out a bit. Just it's like gives it an edge. Let's hear this one more time.
Rushing around the room, rushing around
brings everything forward. It's so cool. Let's hear a couple more here.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend to make believe. Kites that fly through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue. Only you. And I wanna.
Anyway, it gets, some of those are pretty crazy, but wow, it's such an organic kind of, it doesn't sound kind of like crappy digital plug-in distortion
it
at
sounds
all.
really nice.
Yeah.
On vocals, I tend to use it for one of two tricks. I really like to have like a double of the lead vocal that's like distorted on some of those more extreme settings, but is 10 dB quieter than the lead.
Right.
And it just adds like it just thickens stuff up. It gets really nice. And another thing I like to do with it, especially I found worked really well in our songs when Gina was singing lead and I wanted to do a harmony, but not have it sound like a duet, like still have it have it sound like a background, is like wide pan backgrounds that are distorted, like decapitated, if you will, just blend in with guitars so nicely. You can almost have that sound where, depending on how it's mixed, like it's like the guitar is singing along, kind of. It's like becomes kind of guitar. It's very cool.
Wow.
Very cool thing. Actually, I didn't even think of this. My background vocals later in the song, I'm sure, have that treatment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you what you did to your backgrounds, because the way, it's exactly as you describe it, the way that they sit is really unusual and very cool. So
yeah. And also,
awesome.
Don't be afraid of distorting reverbs with Decapitator, because it's
Okay.
awesome. It also makes stuff really big. You can't do it on everything. It's like, but that can be one element. And you'll definitely want to play with that low cut there, so you're not getting too much bottom end. But it really does a nice thing on reverbs.
Awesome. JG just messaged, are those vocal plugins available on Elements or only Pro? Well, the good news is, or the bad news, depending on, these are not Steinberg native plugins. These are purchased plugins. So as we showed you, we have the bougie template, which has the stuff that costs a bit of dough. But we have versions, and there's you have a Quadrafuzz in here coming up later, which is a Steinberg one.
Yeah,
which does cool kind of a similar thing. Yeah.
It's wild. So, it's got way more knobs.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a minute. So, this is from a company called Sound Toys, and you'll see a couple of these things that we have in this session, but they were paid plugins. We wanted to show you Devon's
my secrets.
His not only his secrets, but if you pay him the full rate, you get these plugins.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. I mean, he wouldn't do that to you. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about the vocal bubble.
Like, yeah, sure.
This showed up in this template, and I was like, Devon, I don't know what a vocal bubble is. Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, so a vocal bubble is it's a technique. And I call it a vocal bubble because it literally makes the vocals bubble to me. But the basic idea is that it's an effect that you'll apply to a lead vocal, and it's a stereo delay, a big stereo delay, and it's fast, like a 16th note resolution or an 8th, depending on the tempo, and it's got a long, feedback. A long feedback thing, so it'd be like, if you're singing bop for some reason. The other trick is, after that delay, there's a compressor that ducks the vocal out of the way, ducks the delay out of the way when the vocal's singing. So basically it means you only hear the delay when the lead vocal's not happening. So that stops you from stepping over it. But the basic idea with this vocal bubble is it's something that if it was mixed loudly, it would be awful. You don't want this long delay going off, interrupting everything. But just tucked under, it really does a cool thing. And that's kind of the coolest way to show it off.
Okay, so we'll solo it and we'll break it down for a sec, but just so everybody understands. So this channel here is Gina's vocal going through all of the paid plugin effects. This one is the same, it's just a duplicate track going through the Steinberg effects, okay? Then these tracks are routed to this group, which is like the vocal lead group. And here he has the sends. So the top send goes to the bougie bubble.
Yep.
And the second one goes to the Steinberg bubble.
Yeah.
And then these sends are going to the side chain on the compressor.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll show you how this all is happening. And then this stuff is all routed. He's got a group down here at the other end, which is behind our cameras. You can't see it.
I love groups. Oh man, give me groups all day long.
Which you told me just before we started streaming here that on your all vocal group you usually have a little distressor plugin.
Yeah, I usually do some sort of bus processing, or at least because I've bussed all the parts out separately, I have the option. And I often I find with vocals, if I have a group where it's everything vocal related, the leads, the BGs, and all the vocal effects, just putting a little compressor on that can even out any surprises.
And when we say distressor, we're talking about the Slate plugin, not the hardware.
That's right.
Version. Okay. Okay, so let's mute the... Should we solo it? Is that a good way to hear it first? Okay, so let's mute the instrumental. Let's mute the background vocals. Let's play the track. And the bubble is here with the fader at 0. So just to see what's going on, here's the compressor. That little orange thing is how you turn the side chain on and off. And then as we showed you, we're sending to the side chain from the lead vocal. And then we have Echo Boy, also from Sound Toys. Same folks as Decapitator. This is doing the delay. So let's play the vocal, and I'll just bring this up a little bit and we'll hear what's going on.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing.
So the key to understanding what's happening here, which I think is, again, mind-blowing, is that the gain reduction here is showing the lead vocal is pushing down the effect when the lead vocal is there. So because the effect is being pushed down, we can hear the lead vocal more, and that delay doesn't overwhelm it. That's what we're doing here. Okay, let's hear it again. Then I'm actually going to turn off the compressor, and and you can hear how much more present the delay will be. So here it is again.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue.
It's incredible, Devon.
Big difference, eh?
It's incredible, man. It's like when the compressor, the side chain is working, like I can hear Gina. As soon as I take the compression away, it overwhelms the vocal. It's super awesome. Let's hear it with the track. So same thing. So here we go. I'll try to get a good level here.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through
It's it's so mind-blowing, man, because it's almost like a vocal boost. And we could even like, I don't know how much you typically would compress here, Devon, but like we could even turn the
Yeah,
threshold
you can do a
lower.
lot, and it works. It's got a nice thing. I always kind of go by feel, see what sounds good, and I love this trick for connecting a mono lead vocal that you kind of want in the middle with the stuff that's going on at the sides. You know, your guitars, stereo keys, that sort of thing, and you can choose like with the slider going up with the effect, or with the slider on the compressor going down with the threshold. You have two ways of choosing, like how roomy is it going to get, how big, how evident is it going to be. And if it's like just barely noticeable, it's such a nice effect. It really is.
So, other than the threshold, which controls how much it pushes it down, like, you know, what else are you messing with, like the release, so that it
Yeah.
kind of sort of fades in a little bit? And
Yeah.
does the attack and anything else really have much to do with it, or?
I usually set the attack and the hold to be their shortest time possible, because I just
Okay.
want that delay out of there. When there's anything happening in the lead vocal, I want it to be ducking that delay down.
Incredible.
But then the release will choose when she trails off on a note. The release will choose when or determine how fast the delay swells back up, and so you
Right.
can really get musical settings with that.
So it actually, in a way, kind of creates some motion in the vocal as well, because there's this like
Totally.
little tiny swell thing that's happening too.
Yeah.
So amazing. Let's just
Yeah.
play it one more time. I'll mess with the threshold here,
Yeah.
and just so you can, the lower the threshold and the more compression you'll hear, the effect will come down even lower. So I'll let you guys hear what that's doing. So here we go again.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon.
So you can
It's
almost make it
leaving.
disappear.
I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue.
Oh, Devon, this is a life-altering moment, my friend. Boy, do I like that. Okay, just for fun, let's hear what you did with the Steinberg plugin. So let's turn this one down, and let's have a look here. So we've got the same compressor, only in this case we're using Steinberg Mod Machine. Is there anything about this that you found cool?
I found that it was a Steinberg plugin that was available. I actually haven't used it that much, but I enjoyed messing with it. It's got some cool. You can control the left and the right side independently, which is kind of neat. And yeah, it had the Echo Boy that I was using was modeled after a Space Echo, and then I had the saturation cranked up, and so it's like a really heavily modded delay, not a clean, crisp delay by any means. And I thought Mod Machine, I was able to I didn't really go for matching the sound. I was just like, I'm gonna make a cool, really stereo delay and see what it'll do.
So we're not trying to duplicate. We're just looking for a cool sound using.
I just wanted like a modulated, cool sounding delay.
Okay, let's hear what we can do with Steinberg plugins. So.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving. I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue. Only you. And I wanna.
It's very different, but they're both equally cool in
It's
different
very
ways.
different,
Yeah.
and you get the bubbly effect.
100%.
I think like we even just like throwing some sort of distortion after that Mod Machine, but before the compressor might be able to get us closer to just really saturate it.
Right. Anyway, it's just a very, very awesome thing you got going here. Okay, let's let's turn that down for a sec. So we've got other things happening here. So the first thing that we can turn on, this send, this goes
Yeah.
to this really interesting thing, Multiply, Acon Digital. This is a free plugin, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Where did you find this?
I don't know. I think I've had a compulsion with trying weird off-brand gear that sort of has. I do it sometimes with plugins, although there's some pretty rotten sounding plugins out there that are free for sure.
Yeah.
But I think this survived a round of like, oh, I found this free thing. I used it. I liked it for this kind of dimensioner thing that it would do. If it was before I got the Sound Toys has the micro shift, which is another sort of stereo effector thing, and I don't know, I just kind of kept using this because it's like got a sound that I think is cool.
Cool. Let's hear what it's doing. So right now it's I'll turn it off, but let's have a listen to what this is doing to the vocal.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I'm pretending I'm make-believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing.
That's wow, man. So that's like some kind of crazy widening, chorusy, motiony thing.
Yeah, for sure.
For those of you that have been hanging out here for a while, you've seen me talk about this plugin before, and you've probably also seen me talk about this. This is the Waves Real 80T and the Dimension D, and Devon's Acon multiplier is basically doing the same thing that these plugins do, but the amount of control that you have with this plugin is significantly more, and you also didn't pay for it, which is pretty fantastic.
Which is a nice thing. But I will point out, with all of these send effects, I don't think I would ever use them like at a full send volume like this. We're just showing like it's like you tuck it in and it adds a little something, but it's nice to hear what's going on with the full thing like this.
Yeah, I turned this, full disclosure, I turned up all the sends to 0. Devon sent them to me.
Here, right?
They were all around -18, give or take. And I just wanted to make sure everybody could really hear what was happening. So, and because this is a free plugin, you didn't find a Steinberg equivalent. You just went and used it on your Steinberg version as well. So let's have a listen to it. Let's hear it a little more subtle and see what happens. I'll turn it down to, where -18 is where you usually use it. So
rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I'm pretending I'm make-believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue. Only you.
Man,
not so bad.
even just those two things give it all this like motion. Like there's
that's it.
It's not a static. Not that Gina's singing is ever static. It's always very emotional. But I mean there's just this thing happening in the audio that's very cool. Okay, so moving on from there. So you use that on all vocals. That's like a thing you always use.
I mean, I don't. It's always there ready for me to use. Often, what I'll do is try automating it to kick in during the choruses.
Okay.
So that if it's a pop arrangement or a rock arrangement, but sometimes if a verse vocal needs to be like a little wider, it's right there, and it's a cool sounding option to have.
Okay. So next on the list here, what's the next send here that we have? So
that looks like a small room. If you make your channels slightly bigger, slightly thicker, I guess, wider. There we go. Yeah, it might say. Yeah, so like if you look down the list, things kind of make sense until the last one. So it's like an option for a small room, an option for a large room, and a plate. So kind of 3 reverbs, and then 2 delay options.
okay, and then the bubble. And then we've
And
got
then
this Bricasti,
yeah,
which is that's a special one. We'll get to that later.
yeah.
That's another life-altering learning about a plugin I had never heard that I'm going to use on everything now. But let's have a quick listen to these different spaces: the small room, the large room, and then the plate that Devon has set up here. So this is the small room, and what do we have here? We have this plugin. It's a Slate Verb Suite Classics room, followed by the Steinberg Frequency 2 EQ. So what's happening here?
Yeah, this one, it's I sometimes put a EQ cut after a reverb, in cases where I might be doing something wild, or when I just want to make sure it doesn't add any lows. I think with this room, I was finding that it seemed to be adding low frequencies that I wasn't even sending it, just the nature of the beast. So it's when I just want to be really incisive with where the reverb is going.
Okay, cool. Let's have a quick listen, and I'll turn frequency on and off so we can hear what that's doing as well. But so I've also, full disclosure, I've cranked these up. The send is at 0, so it's going to be loud, a loud effect. So here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face.
So frequency really tightens it up. Like it's really kind of focusing it and making it warmer and more kind of surrounding the vocal, as opposed to like a thing that fills up all the frequency spectrum. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, totally.
Very cool. Okay, so that's the small room. Let's hear that one more time, and then for fun, let's hear what Devon did on the Steinberg side here.
Works.
So, okay, so one more time.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through.
Okay, so let's go here, and we'll turn on the widener as well, and then let's have a listen to the Steinberg one. Here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing blue.
Devon, that sounds great, man.
Sounds pretty good.
I almost like it. There's a part of me that might even like it more than the other one. Let's go back and forth. So here's the other one, which is the Verb Suite Classic.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving.
Okay, and here's the Steinberg one.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make it.
Very cool. Awesome.
Nice, right?
Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so that's one option. So just before we go and we listen to all these, so these options are in your template at any time, and so like when you're mixing, what are you doing? Like are you auditioning them kind of like we are, and deciding which one you go with, or do you ever use more than one, or?
Yeah, I'll blend them. I'll change their amps. Having them as sends is awesome because I can automate how much is going at any given time. So I could say have just a little bit of small room on the chorus or on the verse, and then take that away for the chorus so that it gets more up front, that sort of thing. I'll like blend them a little bit. It's really fun. This I usually do with the track going on, because otherwise it's just fun to add. Everything just makes everything sound bigger and bigger and bigger. Right. But with the track, I find I can really like adjust. It's like, okay, I'm hearing too much of the verb. I'll just pull this back. No, not enough. It's right there. Turn stuff off and on, and it becomes pretty easy to customize to fit the vocal into the space that's available in the song.
Right. Cool. We should talk about that too, but let's have a listen a little bit more. And what I mean, we should talk about that is just how do you create space for the vocal in your mix? But hold that thought. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, so this one is a large room, so this should be a bigger sounding thing. So here's what do we got for this? This is a Valhalla.
I love these reverb plugins.
I love the interface. Look at that.
And they're totally affordable. This the developer he never has any sales. He doesn't do any bundles. They're just $50 each.
Amazing.
Totally reasonable. They're amazing. This vintage verb I see everywhere. This is like a new industry standard, I feel like.
Yeah, it is for sure. Every article that I read about other people's mixes, they're using Valhalla for sure. This is a pretty popular one. So, and a pretty similar looking thing you got happening on the on frequency here as well. Okay, let's have a listen to this one.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing.
Yeah, the EQ is so important, man.
See, like it shouldn't make a difference, right?
It totally
it
does.
does. Like I've got filters. I can't click. This is not my Cubase.
Right.
I've got filters set on the vintage verb, but like there's a low cut and a high cut that are more extreme than is what's going on in frequency.
Yeah.
But it still is. It's doing something.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's
Like I'll slide around the high pass and the low pass filters on that and make sure, but sometimes it just sounds good right off the start.
yeah,
So.
that's killer. Okay, let's hear the Steinberg equivalent. So you are using, gotta move over here, frequency and revelation. So this is the same plug, just a different large hall dark, just a different thing. Okay.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing. Kites that fly up through.
I almost feel like the EQ following it makes the reverb sound lusher and more expensive. Like it sort of has that effect on it. It's crazy.
In a funny way. I wonder if the high frequencies are what like reveal cheapness or something. If it's like harder to nail this, if you just cut them out.
I think you're right. I think that is a thing for sure. Okay, let's compare these. So back to the Valhalla.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving.
And revelation.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing.
Dude, I'm not mad at that either.
It does a certain thing, you know.
Yeah. That's
a large, something that's warm, and I admit I use the large room probably the least of all the things I have loaded up. It's often just too much for what's going on, but I use it for throws a lot, and when it's the right thing, I'm glad that it's there. And it's nice. Like I've got a large sound that I'm like, it's warm, it's got a lot of quality, there's like pre-delay in it so it doesn't overlap the vocals, and it's like just a really good starting point.
Absolutely. Okay, let's check the plate. So
I love this plate.
Okay, so for the plate, Valhalla, no EQ. So you're just using the EQ built into the plug here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you just like all the frequencies of the plate? Is that...
Yeah, I think with this one, my idea is it's a plate reverb, but it's also, it's like got a little extra boost on the width there. Like you see it goes to 105%. You can even crank that up. But with this plate, I want it to be like like it's a side focused thing. It's like very much about width.
Okay.
And I think keeping all the frequencies there is cool.
Okay. Let's check it out.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and free.
Cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's amazing, man. Okay, let's check out the Steinberg equivalent. And I guess I shouldn't say equivalent. Anyway, it's the... So on Reverence here, you did use frequency. So...
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And so what I was doing in frequency here as a wacky thing was basically I did like a mid-side EQ, trying to push certain things out to the side
Okay.
and keep things in the middle.
that's neat. That's very neat. Okay, let's...
Trying to get close to the Valhalla, and I don't know if I did.
Okay.
But sort of. Same idea.
We'll check it out.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing.
It's pretty cool because it sounds like what you made it sound like to me is like one of those old EMT plate emulations.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe now I liked it better with frequency off, but I certainly see what I was going for.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Okay, so we can mix and match on those, but now we've got a couple of delay things. So do you want to talk about your delay concepts here?
Sure, yeah. So the mono delay I really like for adding adding some space to something that doesn't need reverb. Like you don't always want lush, crazy reverb on a vocal. If I want it to sound more intimate or just even more modern, like I find a lot of modern stuff is quite dry in terms of reverb, but quite wet in terms of delay. So this has a low feedback. Just happens once. It's a slap delay. So it's like
Okay.
and it just brings up a nice little amount of space. The stereo one you'll hear, it slaps it out to the sides, and it's way more of like a cool effect, or like for a bridge section, or you have to use that one pretty judiciously. It's a special thing, but it's a lot of flavoring. But the slap mono makes everything sound better, I think.
Okay, cool. Let's check it out. So here it is.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face.
Wow. These Sound Toys plugs, man, are
Oh yeah.
they're pretty crazy. That sounds very awesome. Okay. And the Steinberg one, what did we use for this? Looks like mono delay.
Mono delay.
Nice.
You know, keep it simple.
Let's check it out.
Rushing around
Oh, we got too much on here. Sorry about that. Here we go.
rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that fly up through.
Yeah, that works. That's amazing.
Yeah. That does the trick.
Yeah,
Right?
totally. Okay. Last one is the stereo delay. So I feel a theme here. I think we're going back to Echo Boy here.
Yeah. This is just my favorite delay.
Okay. Let's have a listen.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend and I make believing. Kites that
What's going on with the saturation with this company? It's so good,
Yeah.
man.
You see where I have the knob? That's where it sounds best. Just crank.
Oh.
And it's based on the Memory Man, which is already a dirty,
Yeah.
saturated distortion. So it's just so tasty.
Memory Man, for those that don't know, is an old Electro-Harmonix guitar pedal. I actually have one just over there. But this sounds fantastic. One more time.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, and I pretend that I make believe it.
Wow, I like that. I like that very, very much. Okay, and you got kind of creative over here, and this is where you used the quadrifuzz.
Yeah, I mean, you heard how distorted that Memory Man was,
Yeah.
so I.
Okay, very cool. Let's check this out. Do I have the right track? Unmuted. So used to my two monitors. Sorry, everybody. Here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing. Case that
Oh, there's a little extra something
flying
in there.
Did I turn something extra on here?
No, I think that's probably stereo delay doing something I didn't know it did.
Yeah, no, it looks like I love it though.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm
Happy to call it.
the fuzz, like the distortion here is super nice too.
Rushing
Yeah, quite-
around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing.
Super awesome. Okay, cool. Oh wow, that was a lot of work, man, for you to set those up like that.
Fun. I just like making sounds,
Yeah.
collecting them,
It's,
using them.
So, do you use these the mono? I'm assuming it's mono or stereo.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and how does that how do you use them with the bubble that we looked at first? Because that's a delay too. Like, do we just have like a whole bunch of delays happening in your mixes? Is that?
I mean, not yes and no. It kind of depends. Like if, because they're each sort of doing a different thing. Like the bubble is almost a reverb in a way. It's adding a big amount of space that slowly trails off, and so I could use the bubble and the mono one together. I think that would work well. And I usually don't have the bubble loud enough that it would be super affected by the stereo slap, but sometimes it's cool too. Like if the stereo slap jumps in and the vocal gets really wide and the bubble just keeps it going, keeps that width going. And when it's too much, you just turn the bubble down. A lot of times I'm like, all right, this is great. Let's turn that bubble down.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I think we should put the track back in, and we should start listening to some of these things together. Is that
Yeah.
is that fair?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
so we've
sounds
got the widener in. Let's start with. Let's just go down the list, and I'll put these all back down to -18 where they kind of were, so we can actually hear what it might actually sound like if Devon were sitting behind the controls here. All right, let's have a listen. Let's play, and we'll start with the paid plug-in side, and then we'll try to set up something similar on the other side. So here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I pretend that I make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing through. Only you. And I wanna are so bright in the night. You can see all of the stars
Wow.
that are shining, spreading
right?
all their light across the
It's easy.
sky.
Mixing's easy.
Don't know why, but I feel this burning love struck deep inside me with the flames that never will go out. It's too loud, and I need to know what happened to you then. And now the river's gone, it's dried up to the end. And we will never see how far the water flows. And we haven't got a clue, and no one knows. No, I need to know what happened to you then. And now the river's gone, it's dried up to the end. And we will never see how far the water flows. And we haven't got a clue, and no one knows. No.
It's beautiful. And I think your instincts are correct to my ears anyway. I really like the small room and the plate and
Yeah.
the mono delay
Yeah.
with the bubble. It's really super nice.
Yeah, just everything goes nicely together, and I just find I have so much control over like how up close to far away the vocal is, or how kind of spacious or not spacious. It just, it's kind of a perfect storm, and it's so fun to sit there at like that portion of the mixing and just like play with the sends and
Uh,
get it kind of saucy.
Absolutely. Let's hear the same thing with on the Steinberg side of things.
Yeah.
I've just matched all the levels. I mean, I know they're not the same, but let's go back and forth and see what it sounds like. So here we go.
Love that bass line.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, you're pretending I'm make believing. Kites that fly up through the sky of snowflakes falling on your face and freezing with a million colors seeing through. Only you. And I wanna know what happened to you now. And I know why all of the clouds are so bright in the night. You can see all of the stars that are shining, spreading all their light across the sky. Don't know why, but I feel this burning love struck deep inside me with the flames that never will go out. It's too loud, and I need to know what happened to you then. And now the river's gone, it's dried up to the end. And we will never.
I think it's maybe closer if you change a couple of the things around, but there's certainly no excuse not to have excellent sounding vocals just using the built-in plugins. That was illuminating, Devon. We have one more thing. There was one extra reverb here that we didn't talk about that we probably should talk about. I just sat and reveled in this when I first turned it on. and let's actually just play it, and then you can talk about what you use it for.
Sure.
So it's this one, and let's just have a listen to this. It's a lot, so we're warning you, it's a lot. But anyway, check this out. It's a beautiful sound. Oh, let's do this. Let's just have the vocal. Okay, and we'll go back to the mixer. Here we go.
Rushing around the room, rushing around the whole wide afternoon. It's leaving, I'm pretending, make believing.
The tail is so smooth.
So long.
Rushing around the room.
Oh, what is this for? It's so great.
This I have to give a shout out to the other mix engineer buddy of mine. He's been a mix guru of mine for a long time, which is Josh Bowman, mix engineer. Definitely worth checking out. And he just one day messaged me, was like, you have to check out this crazy preset that's inside the Verb Suite Classics. It's called Ice House, and it's totally awesome. It's like bigger than the large room. It's gigantic. So I would use this for reverb throws. Sometimes I'll just put this, like, I kind of just have it in my session always, because I'm just like, what if this goes on this thing? What if I put it on this? It's not always vocals. It's just like a nice little flavor. When it's the right thing, it's really right. It's a whole lot, so like a little bit goes a long, long way. But it's, I feel like if Decapitator and Echo Boy I use a lot for a hot sauce, I feel like this is more like, I don't know, maybe it's like ice. Maybe it just like changes the temperature of a particular thing, and it's like, it's bright and it's long, and a lot of the other things that I use are warm and short so that they leave a lot of room. But this is just like, it's the biggest thing I've ever heard, so I like to have it around.
It's so smooth, and the decay is 6.39 seconds for anyone
Yeah.
keeping score. You can adjust that, obviously.
Yeah.
This is a Slate plugin for those that
That's
are
right, yeah.
interested. But yeah, like,
Rushing around the room.
It's so beautiful.
oh, it is
Just
beautiful.
Smeary.
Yeah, I just need that on loop, and I can just sit between my speakers and.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, it's so that's super fun, and you did a similar thing over here
I tried.
with the Steinberg using RoomWorks.
Least successful, I think, with this one, but
Well, we'll try it. Let's have a listen. So this is the let me turn all this other stuff off. This is the RoomWorks equivalent. Okay, here we go.
Rushing around the room.
It's really nice though. Like there's no,
it's nice. It's just so big.
it's not quite as euphoric, but it's still nice.
Rushing around the room.
I would use that. That actually almost sounds like you have the frequency EQ on it. Like
It
it
does,
almost
yeah.
sounds like the other one with the EQ on
Yeah.
it. So
The thing RoomWorks could do that the Slate one can't is it has that hold thing there with the little hold parameter, which freezes the reverb and it goes infinitely. So that could be a really neat texture generator, or if you want
Hold.
to get something for a reverse intro, or just it's really nice.
yeah, awesome. I wonder if we have any questions.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on here. It doesn't look like too many people have asked anything. If you have anything else, ask it now before we say goodbye to Devon. Looks like somebody had some messages deleted
Oh.
by accident. It looks like it was an accident.
Oh.
But anyway, any final words on vocal mixing from your perspective?
Oh man, it could be really hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, I find I end up doing the most automation on vocals. Like I'll do fader writing and all that, and then do lots of automating of the sends when it calls for it. Sometimes it can be set it or forget it, but it really, yeah, I don't know. Keep at it.
Yeah. So good. I learned so much from this, Devon. Thank you.
Nice. Well, I always learn so much from you and from the other guests you have on. I like to watch too, so it's pretty sweet.
Well, that means a lot. And we have a very cool community that's started here with some
Definitely.
heavy-duty folks. So, and I think we've got a special guest for next month too, but stay tuned for that. Anyway, why don't we spin the tune all the way through one more time, just on the way
Sure.
out. But I want to say thanks everyone for coming out again. Your support means the world, and we love doing this, and we're going to keep doing it, and we're going to keep making it better. And as you see, there's things flying all over the screen tonight. So we're trying to up
So
the ante.
fancy.
We're trying to up the ante every time for you. So anyway, thanks for coming out. Yamaha Canada Solutions on Facebook. And let's go back to the session. And Devon, thank you so much again. And
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for checking this out, everybody.
all right, let's go back to the regular. We'll have a bougie play out. How's that? Let's do that.
Let's do it. Crank up the Bricasti right at the end.
At the end.
last
Okay,
note.
I'll work on that. So we'll go with Widener, small room, plate,
Yeah,
mono.
love it.
Looks like we got bubble. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks Devon. Here we go.
Thanks, y'all.
Or not. Where did the song go? Oh, I have the instrumental muted. Of course I do. Here we go.